Hi, I'm going to show you how to set a tubular rivet. This rivet that I'm going to be setting today is a copper tubular rivet. You can get these rivets on my EK Supply site at eksupplies.etsy.com. And the tools that you need in order to set a tubular rivet is you're going to need some sort of buffing surface. In this case, I'm using a piece of rubber. You can use a hot pad from your kitchen or something like that if that's what you have. You need a flat surface. This is a steel bench block. You need like a piece of steel, something that's going to hold up and not have any give to it. You're going to need something to make a hole. These are the two surfaces that I'm going to be riveting together today. This is a 24 gauge piece of copper, and this is a 28 gauge piece of brass. So in order to put holes in those two, I'm going to use this Euro punch tool. You can use a drill bit. For this size rivet, it's a 1/16 inch rivet. So you would need a 1/16 inch drill bit. If you're drilling through metal, you need a titanium coated bit. If you're using a pair of Euro punches like this one is, this is a 1.5 millimeter, and it's the perfect size hole for that rivet. You're also going to need a pair of flush cutters. These are El Cheapo flush cutters that I've got here, and flush means exactly that. It cuts off flush at the surface. You're also going to need either a ball peen hammer, which you can use one such as this. It's a little bit big, but it can be done with it if that's all you have. Or a jewelry chasing hammer, which is a nice smaller ball on the end, and then it's a nice flat surface on this end. And you're also going to need some type of a jewelry file, and that's what this is. I believe in using antique equipment. I love it. And you're going to need two playing cards. These are just miniature ones, but they're the same thickness. You need two playing cards. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a hole in both of my pieces of metal, my copper. When I use the Euro punches, I like to go through both ends so there's no burr and the hole's nice and flush the whole way through. Do the same thing to my piece of brass. And I'm going to just turn it and to make sure there's no burr showing. Okay. I'm going to take my rivet and I'm going to put it through my piece of brass and then through my piece of copper that I'm riveting it to. There the two pieces are together. I'm going to turn it upside down onto my surface, my steel bench block. I'm going to take my playing cards here, and I'm going to punch a hole in those with the same size plier or same size hole punch, or if you're using a drill bit, then you just drill a hole through so you have the same exact size hole in these. Now, if I were to take my hammer and hammer this down now, this is way, way, way too long. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's way too long. So I need to shorten that, but I need to leave enough out there that can be hammered to flare it out. So two playing cards together, laid on top of your rivet, and cut with your flush cutters down gives you the exact amount that you need. Now these are tubular rivets. Like I said, there's a tube in there. It's hollow in the middle. But once I cut this, it's going to give it a solid surface. It's pushing those edges together. So I'm going to cut, and I always cover so it doesn't fly and hit me in the eye. And it's nice and flush where I cut there. I take my playing cards off. Now, before I start hammering this down to make sure that it's nice and flat and flared out, I'm going to take my jewelry file across the top of this a couple times, just to make sure that it's nice and flat and flush, nice and flat. Now I will go in with my ball peen hammer or my chasing hammer with the ball end, and I'm going to start tapping it around as much to the outside of the rivet as possible. once you got it flared out there pretty good, you can see it's flared out. I think you guys can see that. You're going to go switch your hammer over, whether it's the flat side of the hammer or the chasing side of the hammer, and give it a couple good whacks to make it nice and flat. And there I have my two pieces together. And what's nice to know about riveting is if you don't have any rivets on hand, and maybe you have some brass, solid brass or solid copper excrucian pins or tiny nails, you can do the same process with those that you're doing with these rivets. So it's good to know the technique of riveting because it comes in very handy if you don't have other sources of cold connecting two pieces together. Okay, thank you for joining me, and I hope I showed you something new.